Hello and welcome to the new episode. Today we're going to do physics paper 1 October November 2024 variant 12. In our previous video we did October November 2024 variant 11. Today we'll be doing variant 12. So let's start with question number 1. This is MCQs paper, so you'll need to select one of the choices, right? So let's start with question number 1. The question number 1 says the diagram shows a cloth peg. The cloth peg has some height. He's holding that peg. Which device is suitable for obtaining an accurate value of the height of the cloth peg? Now since this cloth peg is very small, so although these all are like measuring cylinder is the one which is almost impossible, that should not be the answer. Otherwise rest of the three are the instrument which can measure that height, but the most accurate, since he's saying accurate value, so we're going to use the micrometer, because micrometer can measure this small height very accurately. And if if you want to revise it, a micrometer is 100 times more accurate than meter rule or measuring tape. Okay, so let's move on to question number 2. Question number 2 says which set of quantities are all vectors? And let's start with A, acceleration, displacement and velocity. Yes, these are all vectors. Why B and C and D are not correct? The chemical energy, the energy is scalar quantity, the mass is also scalar quantity, and power is also scalar quantity. In C, force is a vector, extension is a scalar, and gravitational potential energy again is a scalar quantity. He is asking for all three vectors. While in D, weight is a vector quantity, but kinetic energy and work are scalars, so therefore A is the right answer. Let's move on to question number 3. It says the graph shows the motion of the cyclist during the ride for the lasts for 14 seconds. What is an average speed of the cyclist? So average speed, you might be knowing that the formula of average speed is total distance divided by total time. So since this is a distance time graph, so from here we're going to see that how much total distance is covered, and this is going to give us the value of, this is 25, this is 26, 27 and 28. So our total distance is 28 meters, and the time it's taking is 15. So when you're going to divide this with your calculator, you're going to get sorry, it's not 15, it's 14. It's ending somewhere here. See, this is 14, so we should be taking this as 14. So 14 divided by 28, you'll get 2 meter per second. So A is your right answer. Let's move on to question number 3. Question number 3 says the diagram shows how the velocity of the train varies with the time. Which section of the graph shows where the magnitude of the velocity of the train is decreasing? Right, so this is a very important thing, that we need to tell which section is decreasing. See, you can see this P is actually decreasing because the velocity, this might have some value 10, 20, 30, 40. So as you go down, its value is decreasing. For Q, the value is increasing, but for R it is decreasing. Although it's negative, yes, negative only shows the direction, that does not have any it means that it says a magnitude negative, that shows the direction only. So the R section and the P section are the one which are showing decreasing velocity. So see, if I'm going to take Q starts from 0 and it goes to negative value like negative 10, 20, whatever it is, so it is still increasing but in opposite direction. But for R, if it is negative like 15, it is going to 0, so it is decreasing. So P and R, so that is B. We're moving on to question number 5. A metal disc is squeezed in the jaws of a vice. It's a vice given, right? It's a clamp type thing. Which property of the metal disc is unchanged when it is squeezed? Okay, when it is squeezed, since this is a disc, so when you apply some pressure, so it might change its radius. So that radius is changing, right? And if I see the distance between the atoms, yes, because we are compressing it, so distance might change as well. And forces between its atoms, again, that might change as well, because when the particles are closer together, so they'll be repelled more than the normal. So the only thing which is unchanged is the mass. So mass of the property object does not change. Let's move on to question number 6. Question number 6 says a gravitational field strength in the space is smaller than on the Earth's surface. How the masses and the weight of the satellite affects as satellite moves away from the surface of the Earth and into the space. Both masses and weights are unaffected. No, its weight is dependent on gravitational field strength, and since the gravitational field strength is changing, therefore weight has to be affected. It says mass decreases, mass remains unchanged, so that B is also incorrect. C is also incorrect because it says mass increases, mass stays the same. The only way to increase or decrease the mass is when the object is traveling with the speed of light, or if you are like cutting something, removing something, that's the only way of removing the mass. So mass is unaffected and weight is decreasing. That is your answer, because since it says in the space the gravitational field strength is smaller, so it means when you apply W is equal to mg, this g value, if this g value is smaller, that has direct relationship with the weight, so it means weight is smaller as well. Let's move on to question number 7. Question number 7 says a mass has a density of 2.4 grams per cm cube. What is the density in kilogram per meter cube? So now that's very good question. First of all, let's convert this 2.4 grams. Now I'm breaking down. It says 2.4 grams per centimeter cube, so it's 1 centimeter cube. So let's convert this into kilograms, so I'll have to divide by 1000. You need to remember the mathematics here. If you are weak in these conversions, do let me in comments. I can make a separate video or to tell you how to convert these units. They are very easy. I have a very easier way of explaining this through a timeline, so it will take minutes to get to these conversions. Right now I am directly going on to convert this centimeter cube into meter cube. I need to convert it divided by 1 million. So once you're going to solve it with your calculator, you're going to get D as an answer. In question number 8, it says an object falls through the air. The diagram represents the forces acting on the object. It says the object force on the object is, yes, that's upward. Force from the earth on the object is downward. That seems to be correct, but let's see the other ones. It says force of the air on the object is not downwards, it's not downwards, and the force from the earth on the object is also not upward. So this is right, because weight always acts downward while the air resistance always acts upward if the object is falling vertically. Let's move on to question number 9. Question number 9 says which a force F is applied to a lever at a distance L from the pivot, as shown this. The length D is perpendicular to the distance between the force and the pivot. Which expression is the moment of the force about the P? You need to remember that whenever we talk about moment, it is always force times perpendicular distance. So the force and the distance has to be perpendicular, so we'll not take this L, we'll take this D. So this force and perpendicular distance is these two, so the product of these two is the moment. If you need any explanation, any questions, detailed explanation, you can ask me in the comment. I can explain that in detail as well. with a separate video. Okay, let's move on to question number 10. A rocket is launched vertically upward with a constant force from its engine. It says the data for the launch is shown. The weight of the rocket is this, the average air resistance is this, force from the engine is this, how much work done on the rope is used to increase its speed in the first 100 meters, right? It says how much work done on the rocket is used to increase its speeds, right? So let's see what we can have. First of all, we need to see that the weight is opposite force, so that is 1.9 mega newtons. Since the object is moving upward, so the average air resistance is also downwards, which is 0.1, and force from the engine is 3. Newton mega newton, right? So we need to subtract these two forces from this so that we can get a resultant force. So the force of resultant is 3.5 mega newton minus sum of these two, which is 0.1 plus 1.9. so you'll get 1.5 mega newton. Mega is 10 raised to power 6 newtons, and you'll multiply this with the distance because work done is force times distance. So I'm going to apply this force here, and I'm going to take with 100 as a distance. So if I'm going to solve it, since the answer is given in mega, so I'll keep this as mega, I'll multiply these two, so this is going to give you 150 mega joules. So that's 10A. Let's move on to question number 11. Question number 11, he says which equation is used to calculate the efficiency of the energy transfer. In A it says useful energy output over total energy input. Yes, that's a correct answer. Let's see why the others are wrong. Other one says the total energy input, that should be in denominator, it is in numerator, so that's wrong. They have actually you can say they need to replace each other. You need to take reciprocal of this. In C it says total energy, and in the denominator it says total power. Either it's both powers or it's both energy, so that's why C is also wrong. D it says multiplication, it's not, it's division, so your A is right answer. Let's move on to question number 12. Says the object of a different masses are lifted through the different distances in the different amount of time. In which combination of mass, distance and time is the greatest power transfer? So you need to know that the greatest power transfer is actually the power is actually energy over time, and here the energy, since it's gaining the height, so it's GPE mgh, so P is equals to mgh over T. So you can apply in this all cases. If I'm going to apply it here, it is mass times, let's take G as 10, height is 2 divided by 3. So if I'm going to apply this is 2 is a 4 times 40 over 3, that's 13.3 watts. Let's move on to the second one. It says 1.5 times 10 times 2.5 over 2. If I'm going to apply this, this is going to be 15 times 2.5 is 22.5, that's 11.5 approximately. You can check it with the calculator, I'm not doing it with the calculator. For the C, it says mass and the distance. I think the C is the right answer because mass and distance both have a greater value in this, and the time is smaller, and this is 10 divided by 1.5, so that is 40 divided by 1.5, so that's double of this, that's 26.6 joules. And for this one, mass is 1.5, distance 2.5, distance is 10 divided by 1.5, you get cancelled, this you get 25, so C is the right answer. It's 26.6 joules, right? let's move on to question number 13. What does question number 13 says? It says a force is applied to move a piston down into the container. The temperature of the air remains constant. The distance between the base, you need to pardon me for a minute. Okay, I'm back. So since we're doing it live, so you might see few interruptions here. So let's move on to, it says the air pressure in the trap container is this. There's a distance given as well, and he says the piston is decreases from 0.8 to 0.15. What's the new pressure? So here, since the height is decreasing, the quantity that actually gets affected is the volume. So we're going to apply a formula known as P1 V1 is equals to P2 V2. Now important thing is that how can we like take length as a volume? Actually this cylinder volume is base area times height. So I'm going to take area as A, because in both sides of the quality the area will remain same, which we can cancel out with each other. So let's start with this. When it was 0.18, the pressure was 1.0 into 10 to the power of 5, and volume was 0.18 times A. A is the area of cross section. Now we need to find out the new pressure, which is P2, and now the volume has decreased to 0.15 times A, which is area of cross section. So this A gets cancel each other. This is going to come and divide here. So you're going to say 1.05 into 10 to the power of 5 times 0.18 divided by 0.15. So when I'm going to use my calculator, I'll get C as an answer. In question number 14, it says a sealed gas syringe contains a gas that is kept at a constant volume. So the volume is constant, and the temperature and the pressure, they are directly proportional to each other. So which rows describe how the change in temperature of the gas affects its pressure? This is a pressure law which says the pressure is directly proportional to temperature. So it means if pressure is increasing, temperature is increasing, the pressure has to increase. If temperature is decreasing, the pressure has to decrease, right? Since the volume is kept constant, so it is going to be increase. There is no decrease in this, so we cannot select that. Let's move on to question number 15. It says the melting temperature of a gold is 1064 degrees Celsius. What is the melting temperature of the gold in Kelvins? That's very easy. You need to add 273 into the degrees Celsius to make it into the Kelvins. So I just need to add 273 into it. So once I'm going to add this, I'm going to get this as an answer. The table shows the melting and boiling point of the three elements, argon, nitrogen and oxygen. At which temperature are the three elements in the different state? So now here we're going to try a hit and trial, because we're going to say that at A, which is minus 220, at minus 220 argon is solid, at minus 220 nitrogen is solid as well, so they are not in the same state, different state. So A is wrong. Let's move on to B. S is minus 205. Again, this is solid, but this is liquid since it has reached its melting point, so it's a liquid now. And for oxygen, that's liquid as well, so that's not three different states, so that's wrong as well. Let's move on to C. It says minus 90, minus 190. This is solid, this is liquid. No, that's gas, sorry, that is gas, because minus 196 is smaller than minus 190, so that's gas. And the third one is a liquid, so yes, this is the right answer. Let's move on to question number 17. The diagram shows a liquid at a room temperature in the beaker. What reduces the rate of loss of the liquid by evaporation? So it says blowing air across the top of the beaker, that would increase, that would not decrease. Heating the liquid, that will also increase. Putting the lid on the beaker, yes, that can be the answer. Let's move, check out D1. Transferring the liquid into the beaker with a larger diameter. If the surface area will increase, that will increase the rate of evaporation, that will not decrease, so C is the right answer. Let's move on to 18. What is the color and what is the texture of the best absorber of the infrared radiation? That should be black and dull, because shiny and white, they are good reflectors, they are not good absorbers. In 19, which rose gives the velocity and wavelength of the wave? That is the ultrasound wave. So now how do we know what is a ultra? Since it says ultrasound, it means it's talking about sound, right? So one thing that you need to know is that sound has different, like this can be one of the speed, this can also be one of the speed, but the problem is that the frequency has to be greater than 20 kilohertz. So let's see which one of them give me the greatest of it. So I'll be using these meters. When I'm going to apply my calculator, this is the only one which is going to give me the frequency greater than human audible range, so that's an ultrasound. You can check out with your calculator, that is going to give you the different answer. Okay, so all you need to do is divide the velocity by the wavelength, but wavelength has to be in meters. Okay, so let's move on to, it says what is angle of reflection? That's very easy. You draw a normal here, it is always perpendicular to the mirror line. This one is 60, this is angle of incidence, the angle of reflection has also be 60, so that's your answer. The object O is placed, so the image has to be upright, so this one is wrong, and has to be the same distance from the mirror line, so that's wrong and that's wrong, that's A. 22, it says what is the critical angle of the boundary between this? So now what you need to do is, first of all, you need to find out this thing. Now this angle is 48, and this angle is 40.5. so I'm going to use n is equals to sine I over sine r to find refractive index first. Then I'm going to use n is equals to 1 over sine c. So this is already, we have calculated this, so I'm going to take this and solve the arithmetic problem, and I'm going to take sine c, I'm going to take sine inverse, so c is equals to sine inverse of, so you can apply this using your calculator. So your answer is C for this. Next is two waves are the component of the electromagnetic spectrum. It says light and sound. Sounds are never electromagnetic waves. They are longitudinal waves. All electromagnetic waves are transverse wave. That's also wrong. B is ultrasound. Water waves are also not the part of the this. So X-rays and microwaves. D is the right answer. And 24, it says which diagram shows the nail is an induced magnet, cannot be induced by iron bar. Switch open, so that's magnet. Which row shows the magnetic metal and a non-magnetic metal? So magnetic metal is iron and steel as well, but non-magnetic is copper. Copper and aluminium are both non-magnetic, so you can find out in list. Other metals are all magnetic. In 26, it says magnetic field lines are given, so it means it always goes from north to south. So normally the field lines is like this. So what happens to the magnet? So it turns 90-degree anti-clockwise, because south gets attracted by this north and north gets attracted by this, and then stops moving. Yes, because it is going to be attracted by that. Okay, so because in magnetic properties the opposite poles they attract each other, so this north has to attract this south, while this north has to be attracted by this south. So it moves here, it moves here, so that is anti-clockwise, and that's 90-degree because it has to be like this, south and north. Let's move on to question number 27. It says a plastic rod becomes charged when it is rubbed with a cloth. Which statement gives the reason for the charge on the rod? Now that's very interesting, because we don't know what, or like what charge will this rod have and what charge will cloth have. But if you read out the question carefully, the statement will always tell you, because it says the plastic rod loses proton. It can never lose proton. It can lose electron or it can gain electron. Protons are the one which it cannot lose. Plastic rod loses electron and becomes negatively charged. If it loses electron, that should become a positively charged, so B is also wrong. The plastic rod gains proton and becomes positively charged. That's also again wrong. It cannot gain proton. It can lose electron. It can also gain electron. Plastic rod loses electron, become positively charged. That is the correct statement. So you don't need to need to remember whether a plastic rod is always getting positive charge or negative charge. It will always be from the statement. You'll tend to know what does this plastic rod will what will this plastic rod do. So next question number 28. It says what is the current in each of the resistor. That's easy. Well, let's find the combined resistance. So combined resistance is R plus R plus R plus R plus R, so that is 4R. Now V is equal to IR. I need to find out current. V is E, current is there, resistance is 4R, so E is over 4R, that is the current. And since the current is same in the all resistors, because in series the current never divides, so your answer is A. Let's move on to 29. It says how 1 volt can be expressed. So that is always like V is equals to W over Q, joules per coulomb. So 1 joule per coulomb. In 30 it says X wire is a length L, A and resistance R. The wire is made up of the same material, is connected to the wire X produces component with the total resistance of R by 2. Now the resistance is halved, So like it says what are the combinations. So in 30, if the length is doubled, the resistance also doubles. So the resistance, if the length is doubled, the resistance doubles. The area is 1/4 and it is in parallel. That's like a little different combination. So if it is like 4L as a length, so it means the resistance will be 4R, and the current area is 4A. Yes, so that is the right answer. So C is the right answer, because in parallel, it's in parallel circuits, right? In parallel you get to have a same voltage, right? The voltage does not divide. In 31 it says which circuit contains a fuse and a diode. This is a symbol of fuse, this is a symbol of fuse, the other one do not have a fuse, so this is a diode, so D is the right answer. Let's move on to 32. It says how is energy transferred within a kettle that is powered by the main supply. Okay, that's very important. So it is by electrical work done to chemical. No, kettle is always heated, so that's thermal. So either it's D and it's B. Since it's an electric kettle, so that should be B. So let's move on to 33. It says the magnetic poles at the end of the coil, as the magnet enters, as the coil leaves. When the magnet enters, it should be north, because you, according to the Lenz's law, it always the motion opposes the motion producing it, so it has to oppose this north. And when it is leaving here south, so it has to attract it, so north has to be here, so at the both end it should be north. So your 33 is A. So let's move on to 34. It says a straight wire carries a current in the direction shown. So you can use Fleming right hand grip rule to check out. The thumb direction will tell about the current, and the curl of the fingers will tell you about the direction of the field. So that should be D. Why it's not A or B? In A, these two rings have a other direction, while these two have other direction, which cannot be possible. In B it is in opposite direction, so which is not possible. It should be like this, so arrows should be here and here. In C it is again in opposite direction, so it's going this and this, so only D is the right answer, because it has to go a clockwise rotation. If through thumb rule you can check out right hand grip rule. 35. It says which part of the DC motor reverses the direction of the current. The call once every half rotation. It's always split ring commutators. Slip rings are not the part of DC motor, so that's wrong. Brushes, the brushes are used to connect these commutators to the current. That has nothing to do with the reversal of current. The armature also has nothing to do with the reversal of current, so it's always split ring commutators. In 36, which statement about the nuclide notation R and Z is correct? R is a nucleon number which is different for the different isotopes of X, so that is yes, correct answer. But let's see other ones. R is a proton number which is not. Z is a nucleon number, no it's not. Z is a proton number which is different from different, no that's wrong. So A is the right answer. Let's move on to 37. It says during a radioactivity experiment, a background reading is 28 counts per this. A radioactive source of 22 centimeter is placed in front of a detector. which is okay. See, he says 2 centimeter of length. So he says when he put no sheet there was 750, he put a thin card, there was 750. It means that alpha is not present here. When he put 5 millimeter of thick aluminium, it gets 478, right? So it means it blocks some of the, which is a beta. Now the other one which are passing through is a gamma and background radiation. Okay, so it should be having a beta and gamma radiation. So 37. So 38, the radioactive isotope is injected into patient as a part of the medical test. The radiation emitted is detected outside the body. What are the suitable properties for the isotope? You need to remember this. This is a very important, that first of all alpha cannot penetrate the body of the human body. Beta can also can penetrate, but since its half life is few years, so it will remain into the body for a longer period. It should have few hours, so that the radiation dies down very quickly, so it should not remain in the patient's body for a longer period. So it should be gamma rays with a few hours of half-life. In 39 it says the student writes 4 statements about the solar system. So now we need to identify which one is the correct statement. He says light takes approximately this much second to travel from sun to earth. No, that's wrong. It is, this is the speed of the light, 3.0 into 10 raised by 8 meter per second. It takes only few seconds to travel from sun to the earth. That earth takes approximately 24 hours to rotate on its axis once. That is the correct answer. The moon takes approximately 1 month to orbit the earth. Yes, approximately, that's correct. Sun takes approximately 365 days to orbit the earth. That's wrong. Earth takes 365 days to orbit. So it's 2 and 3 only. So that's this. What is never formed by the explosion of the red supergiant? So now red supergiant, black hole can be the end of the red supergiant. A neutron star can also be the one. A heavier element can also be. White dwarf cannot be. That is the part of the supergiant, not red supergiant. So that's the end of the paper. I hope you've enjoyed it. I've tried to do it as quickly as possible so that less of your time is wasted. Hope we can have a next paper in our next class. Till then, if you like my videos, subscribe to the channel, hit like and the share button, and also give thumbs up. That matters a lot. And you can give suggestions if you have any. If I've committed any mistake during this whole paper, since it's a live paper, so as a human I can make errors. So I'm extremely sorry for that. So see you in the next video. I'll be coming up with another paper. I'll try to cover up this whole series so that you can have a good revision of these all the concepts. Thank you very much. See you in the next video. Bye bye.